Psalm 19 and Reflections on the Summer Sky, now on the Accessible Faith Project. Hi there, I'm John and welcome to the Accessible Faith Project. If you're new here and looking for insights into the Bible, faith, and history in ways that engage your brain, then please hit subscribe and that little bell icon so you receive a notification every time I upload a new video. Even though our time of social distancing is coming to a close, I have still been using the Accessible Faith Project to provide worship and devotional resources in addition to my educational videos. This is a sermon, but as with all of my offerings, I hope that setting in context and looking at some of the science behind astronomy, it can help us in ours. About 11 years ago, my family had just returned from a day out. We came home a little later than we usually do, and the sun had set, the twilight was deepening, and the first bright stars were shining through. My daughter Megan, who was 4 at the time, pointed straight up and said, "Daddy, what star is that?" I was embarrassed because I couldn't remember. Up until this point, Megan had only been interested in Venus, the bright planet often referred to as the evening star. Yet Venus had long since dipped into the sun's glare, and so actually I didn't know. But I did have a brand new phone, so I downloaded an astronomy app, pointed the device at the sky, and was able to confidently tell Megan that there was a star called Vega. If she hadn't asked that question, we would not have the telescopes that we now have, nor would we have thought to have a star named in memory of her baby sister in the months that followed. Since then, my whole family engages in admiring the wonders of the heaven. One summer, before we moved to Calgary, we went on a camping expedition to Manitoulin Island in Lake Huron to experience a truly dark sky at our first star party. Imagine camping, but you take out the campfire and put in a telescope, and you do it with other people, most of whom had much bigger telescopes than ours, and I mean much bigger telescopes. The skies out there we saw were astounding. And I learned firsthand that the human eye is remarkably adaptable to the dark if we give it the chance. Away from the glare of the artificial light at night, we were able to see our way around the campsite with only starlight itself to see. My God, in the purest sense of that expression, the sky is truly full of stars. And I couldn't help but hear the echoes of Psalm 19 that weekend. The heavens are telling the glory of God. Curiously enough, 2 weeks after that, Sarah and I would be singing in a 172-voice choir at Nanaimo Music Week, and we would be singing Joseph Haydn's magnificent treatment of the text. And I have to say that when the psalmist who wrote the 19th Psalm proclaimed that the heavens are telling the glory of God, they had no idea how profoundly right they were. When you look into a clear night sky, especially from under blazing city lights, chances are you may see just a smattering of stars. These are the brightest ones in our sky, amongst thousands that can be visible. Go to someplace dark, and you may get a glimpse of how full the sky is of stars. As we have learned, even that is just a glimpse. Humans have looked to the sky and created stories around groups of stars that would pass by with the seasons. Constellations became sources of tales in mythology. Scientists today even use the names that the Greeks used in their mythical stories to give us a common language in talking about the sky. If you stay up past twilight on a clear summer night and look almost directly south, you can see a cluster of stars that vaguely create the image of a teapot. The constellation Sagittarius is part of the zodiac, the constellations the sun appears to pass through during the year. During the summer, it is well away from the sun, and it allows us a clear view. And if you're looking at Sagittarius, you're looking at the center of our galaxy. If you get away from city lights, you can see a sea of faint stars looking like a cloud, and that looks like steam emerging from the teapot. And in that cloud, if you look carefully, you can see a blob. Get some binoculars or a telescope, and you can see so much more. This is the Lagoon Nebula, a massive cloud of gas where stars are being born. a stellar nursery, if you will. It lies some 5,000 light years away from Earth and is some 60 light years across. These numbers are too big for us to really get our heads around. For comparison, if our galaxy was the size of Vancouver Island and we were in North Nanaimo, the Lagoon Nebula would only be in Parksville. And even then, we can't get our heads around that because it takes 5,000 years for that light to get to us. But what we can do is appreciate this as an image to teach us something about God. At the core of the Lagoon Nebula are a handful of brilliant young stars whose powerful solar winds push outward and open it up and light it up so that we can observe it for the cosmic flower it resembles. It is an appropriate metaphor because there are hundreds of new star systems being formed throughout the cloud. Stellar gases condensed, pushed together to critical mass by either the stellar winds of the central stars or even shock waves from a nearby supernova. Crammed together and pulled together by gravity, nuclear fusion begins to happen as it condenses together, and then they ignite, forming new stars, each capable of even developing new life on their own. It is as if we are getting a glimpse of the very hand of God at work. And this is symbolic of new life, new hope. The death of one star creates a shockwave that creates more stars. It's a profound revelation to realize that the universe itself seems hardwired for resurrection. The heavens are telling the glory of God. No words are said, nothing is heard, and yet they ring throughout the cosmos in a far more profound way than we could ever imagine. It is something to remember when the city lights wash all of that out. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and yet so often we have so much blare and glare in our lives that we simply don't see it. What's the lesson from the summer sky? Well, dial it down. After all, what does the noise around us wash out? What of God's fantastic universe do we miss? When taken all together, this is a beautiful tribute to how much the skies are a testament to the wonder and glory of God, even when they stand in silent vigil above us. As effective as they are in communicating with one another, the words that we use cannot hold a candle to the sheer awe of the universe. And sometimes the most profound revelations of God's love comes in the very moments of silence when we stop for a moment and contemplate all of it. And I have to ask how much we miss because we surround ourselves with all kinds of things that get in the way of the most meaningful things in life. I think creation is yelling at us to get our attention, not only because we abuse it, but because of how beautiful it is, and we don't always see it. We don't always hear it or experience it. It would seem such a waste in such a magnificent universe that if this is all there is, that nobody is around to appreciate its beauty. As far as we have come, I think we are in constant danger on focusing on too much on the noise that we generate ourselves, that we miss what God is trying to say. And so what if we took the time to stop, to slow down, and to dial down all of that blaring noise and glaring lights that we fill our lives with? What if, in letting ourselves see in the dark and listen to the silence, that we might realize precisely how profoundly wonderful this universe is, and as insignificant as we might feel on this speck of dust in the universe that we are on, we matter to God. And their thoughts to consider when looking up at the summer sky.